my reading goals every year is to read not only more diversely, more nonfiction. And I did do that this year. I could have done better, but y'all want to hear about the nonfiction that I really enjoyed this year? Some of these books y'all gonna be able to guess, but so what? Watch the video anyhow. Hi friends, welcome back to Bookmas. I am Shelby Monet and this is Shelby and the Book Club. And in today's video, we're going to talk about my top nonfiction for 2024. In total, I believe I read about 26 nonfiction, which isn't bad. I could do better next year. So if you'd like to hear it, here it go. Before we get started, you already know where everything is going to be linked at in the underneath a bar. It's called underneath a bar because it is underneath the video. Get with it. Get with it and get lost. All right. And make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. We are on the road to 15K. And I think we can do it before 2025. I think we can. I think we can. Let's get into it for real this time. These are in no particular order, as you know. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my mini girl. This is my iPad mini. Where she go, I go. Where I go, she go. I read on her, I write on her. This my homegirl. You probably should just get you one. When Crack Was King by Donovan X. Ramsey. I have yelled about this book from the rooftops as much as I've talked about James by Percival Everett and Scott Full of Elephants. The black men were writing their ass off this year. I don't know if it was something in the water. I don't know if they had a meeting and they just decided that that's what they was going to do this year. I don't know what it was. I appreciate it. I won't complain, okay? Because they did a number. They did a number on me. I like writing. Do you hear? When Crack Was King tells the history of the crack epidemic, right? There are a lot of misconceptions that we have about the crack epidemic, and When Crack Was King not only is written beautifully, but it flips all those lies on its head. The one that stands out the most to me, or the two, there's one about a journalist that wrote an article about a young black boy saying that he wanted to be a drug dealer like his parents, and that he was strung out on drugs. She wrote a whole article, one a Pulitzer, I believe. Whole time it was a lie. The other one is about crack babies and how crack babies are not real. Okay. You need to read it. Read it now. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go on and get. I wonder if Monopoly has accounted for inflation, because where I'm going with that $200. Anyway, read When Crack Was King. Next, What I Ate in a Year by Stanley Tucci. I feel like it's a very niche book. I feel like it's one of those books where either you're gonna like it because you like Stanley Tucci. I would recommend listening to the audiobook for it. If you don't like Stanley Tucci, if you don't like food or you're not like enthusiastic about food and what other people eat and how they cook things, this book is not for you. But I really enjoyed that it was written like a diary, right? Like it felt like he was just checking in every day with what he ate, how he was feeling, and then we just went on to the next day. Some of them were introspective, some of them weren't, some of them were quick, some of them were long. It just was, I really liked it. Next, I have The Deaf Girl by Abigail Heringer. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I had no idea who Abigail was. Abigail is the first deaf person to be on The Bachelorette. The Bachelor. Maybe she was on both. I don't be watching reality TV, okay? I read the book because it said The Deaf Girl. And I learned so much about cochlear implants that I would not have known before. Because I don't know anybody personally in my life that has a cochlear implant. There were just a lot of things that I assumed about them. So it was really interesting listening to the trials and tribulations that she went through throughout her life, having a cochlear implant. Not only her, but her sister has one as well, which I thought was really, really interesting. So it was cool to learn about that. And then listening to the things that she went through, like being on The Bachelor, to the relationship that she's in now, and all of this other stuff. It was really, really cool. I like when memoirs are informative, right? Because a lot of the times the girls or people that are on these reality TV shows get books and it kind of just be like, for why? For what? What are we doing? You know? Next, Armed with Good Intentions by Wallow. Wallow is a podcaster, businessman from Philadelphia. You've probably seen his videos of him and his cousin in their podcast. They are very, very funny across social media. I thoroughly enjoy Wallow's story. So he talked about his time being incarcerated, from a young boy in Philly just trying to make some money to help take care of his family, to getting in trouble, and what he learned being in prison, and all of the stuff they be doing in there. He said that he had a cellular device, an iPhone, in the jailhouse. But anyway, he reads the audiobook. It's very, very good. It's very informative. I think it's one of those things that you probably should read with your teenagers. Not necessarily from the perspective of scaring them, right? What comes to my mind is like Beyond Scared Straight, that show where they was taking the babies down to the jailhouse and being like, if you come in here, I'm gonna whoop your motherfucking... Not like that. Don't scare the babies, but just a real approach to how he was affected and like what his thought processes were leading up to him being incarcerated, and like how he connects it to some of the generational trauma. He talks about being a young boy being sexually assaulted by an older woman and not realizing that he had sexual trauma until he was in prison, right? I think it would be good for boys in their formative years to hear it, especially from someone who looks like them and who is like them, right? Someone that is making a living on social media, beyond social media, that was able to turn their life around and to do something good. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, it's something about when an audiobook is read by the author, like it just had his own little swag, his own little touch to it. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Wallow. The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's a phenomenal book. It's a phenomenal audiobook. He's talking about a lot of very, very important things in a way that's tangible. I really don't know like how to tell you what the book is about, because it's not just about Palestine. It's not just about him traveling, right? It's more about self-discovery, I think, at an earlier age, like not an earlier age, but at a later age, right? I think there's a misconception that we stop learning, right? And I think some people do stop learning because they feel like at a certain age they don't have to learn anything anymore because life has taught them all that there is to know. But I think what actually happens, especially like from your 30s beyond, you do have a lot of lived life experience, but it's not that you don't stop, like you don't learn anymore, right? It's more about applying the things that you already know, learning from them, and adjusting, right? And I think that's what the message is ultimately about, and applying that thought process to current events and to the world that we live in, right? So it's amazing. And then last but certainly not least, What Becomes of the Brokenhearted by Elin Harris. This was a book club pick for Nonfiction November, and I'm reading it again as an adult, right? The first time I read this book was in high school. I maybe read it again in college for like a paper. So it wasn't like far removed enough from the first time that I read it. And there are so many relatable things in this book. I think one thing that he was trying to drive home is that the experience of a gay black man isn't as far removed from a straight person's experience with dating and sexuality and, you know, like coming into themselves, right? Like he talks a lot about needing love from external places, or how his view of himself being gay was put on him, right? Because he was always told to that being gay was wrong. So I think, and again, this doesn't negate his experience or take away his experience as a black man, but what I felt from it, reading it as an adult, right, that is navigating my dating life and, you know, being a 30-something and trying to figure out my career and my passions and so on and so forth, it was so relatable to me, right? Some of the insecurities that he had, coming into his passion, right? As I expand my YouTube channel and as I come into my my passion and growing and so on and so forth, and being able to offer something to the world, right? I mean, for me, it's a lot of us, but we, you know, you get what I'm saying. I just thought how relatable it was. It is sad. I do wish that he would have talked more about his writing journey. I felt like those last few chapters, it was very rushed. I wanted more about his writing. But it is a very inspirational story. So I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed it. Reading it now. And I think it kind of drives home that you need to reread your books, right? And not necessarily, oh, I read this one book last year, so next year I'm going to read it again. Like, that's fine. But maybe I'll put together a list of books that you should read like every decade of your life. Like every new decade, you should read these lists of books, because I think that's one that I will put on there. All right, let me know in the comments, have you read any of these books? Are you planning to read them? And without further ado, if no one has told you today, I love you. You are kind, you are smart, you are important, if to no one, to me. Bye, friends.